So before I start, just wanted to ensure that I am loud and clear.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Rakshi. So hello all, a very good afternoon, and myself Ekta Dubey, on behalf of the Brinalytics team and our partner Avaya India, we welcome you all and thank you so much for being part of our roundtable, which is Reimagining BPO through digital lenses. So, to start with, I would like to introduce our partner, Avaya India. We all know that businesses are built on the experiences they provide, and every day, millions of those experiences are built by Avaya. For over 100 years, they have enabled organizations around the globe to win by creating intelligent communication experiences for customers and employees. Avaya builds open, converged, and innovative solutions to enhance and simplify communications and collaborations in the cloud, on premise, or a hybrid of both. To grow your business, they are committed to innovation, partnership, and a relentless focus on what's next. They are the technology company you want to trust to help you deliver experiences that matter. Today, we have interesting sets of thought leaders and the audiences from the BPO industry. We'll have an interesting keynote session by Gavin Rodrigues, and we'll also move on to an interesting roundtable discussion that would discuss the mega trends for the BPO that dominate 2022. We also would open the floor with a Q&A with your audiences. If you have any questions, you can also put on the chat box, or we would love to take it when the panel is on. So now to start with the first keynote session, I'm happy to have Gavin Rodrigues. He's APS Managing Principal at Avaya, and he would be here to share his insights on connecting the BPO dots, scope and shape of the digital BPO. Thank you, Gavin, for being here. Over to you.
Thanks, Ekta. Hope I'm loud and audible to everyone.
A little louder would help, Gavin. Uh,
Sure, I'll try my best. I'll just
yes.
try and check my headphones. And in this digital world, I think this is the one question we all begin with: if I'm loud, if I'm audible, right? So please bear with me. I'll just share my screen. Ekta, if you can just confirm, it's
Yeah.
just sharing it through. Is it coming?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks, Ekta, for that wonderful introduction, wonderful opening to the session. I'll try and do justice to what I'm going to cover today around the total experience that we've been seeing with our customers, right? So to begin with, I as a wire, right? We Ekta mentioned we connect a lot of people. We connect things in the ways that are, I would say, more immersive, productive, memorable experiences, right? So now, how does this particular experience basically, uh, as we call in our world, be a feel-good experience, right? What I feel that people may forget what you said, they might forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, and that's the core, I would say, at Avaya, and that's how Avaya is defined in today's changing world, right? And in order to catch up with the latest technology, in order to catch up with the various customers of today, right? Even you as individuals, as organizations, are basically going through a huge technological evolution. Fundamentally, I would say pandemic has basically changed the way we live, we work, we relate to one another, right? So what people are calling today the industrial revolution, in other words, right? What we would want to call it. Uh, it is a fusion of a lot of stuff like artificial intelligence, I would say robotics, Internet of Things, genetic engineering, right? So quantum computing and a lot more things today, right? So all these huge changes that we see in today's world, like the introduction of Google's driverless car, right? So it's not only resulting in automated driving, but it's a car that is driving instead of a human being, right? So use robotic arms, robotic legs today to enable people with differently able to walk again. right? So the world has changed in the last decade or so. The payment structure that we have today, right? The social media, online search, apps that create a digital trail, it's actually massive today, right? And there's a conscious bias we share all the time in our public ways by riding through rivers, clicking on those like icons, right? This is all changing our experiences and the brands that we become fan of today, right? So, by the way, an article was shared that the data to train AI models today has leapt from 2 zettabytes to close to 41 zettabytes, right? So, that's a huge change that we have seen in the last decade and what pandemic has brought us to, right? So how do we basically take this forward? How does it change things for us, the way we basically travel, the way we basically shop today, right? Entertainment, health, everything around has basically changed. Why this has changed? Because there's a lot of voice technologies that now have AI embedded into our daily lives. Augmented reality, artificial intelligence, in other words, has supported a lot of shopping experiences as well today. So we no longer use cash, right? So for that matter, the other day I was talking to Pratap and he was talking about watches doing the payments now, right? So we live in that kind of a world. We stream content constantly and videos that we previously took, I think, 4 to 5 hours to download. It's under a minute today. We download a lot of stuff. So our customers and employees also have changed. That's the gist that I want to bring to the table today. The solutions to our basic challenges and ambitions are no longer monolithic, omni-channel supporting contact center app. We need to address the technical depth uh, with agile and knowledgeable applications, right? So how do we basically do that? Gartner talks about this one wonderful phrase, which is everything customer, right? So sometimes these customers want to shop online, but they want the comfort of the in-store experience. Sometimes they want to serve themselves, but there are other times they want to interact with a human. Sometimes they want information personalized, proactive to them, but at times organizations they need to basically berate with organizations about their privacy, right? So interacting over WhatsApp, Facebook messengers, but sometimes they want to resort to a traditional phone call. So to simply put it through, uh, what they want to be is connected, but at the same time need to be left alone, treated equally, but I would say served uniquely, right? So a consistent and expected service is what they're looking forward to. So the bottom line is, as customers, we want a lot, and delivering customer experience ambitions today is more difficult than ever before. And this is because of the everything customer is not a segment. It's I would say it's a mindset, right? So we want to consume the services the way we do things like streaming music, right? Ultimately, we want services we use and the experiences to have a composed atmosphere around us. We want this to be applied to every device, and that experience should be similar across devices, right? So whether it's an NLU or a typing gesture or touch for that matter, right? So that's how customers have actually evolved. So to basically address these today's needs, I would say the everything customer, to make it an experience which is effortless and to basically become a particular experience which sticks with this everything customer, right? So why does it need to basically stick with this customer? Because when these customers relate to a particular brand, right, they associate, they engage with a brand, and more importantly they promote that particular brand. That's the key aspect that most I would say solution vendors today, and today we have esteemed panelists that are delivering a lot of solutions and customer experiences to their customers need to be basically in tandem with that particular thought process. uh, However, I would say just focus on customer experience is not going to help us in order to basically move forward from here, because what pandemic has basically taught us and given us a lot of evidence around the direct impact of employee experience, right? We all know that how an employee, empowered employee for that matter, tends to be more engaged with your customers, right? He makes them feel a different level of customer experience. That's a key aspect when it comes to delivering solutions as well as delivering a service to your customers. Along with customer experience, you also need to look at the employee experience, right? And today, what we also see, what people are also calling as multi-experience, that's critical too as well. When we connect with an experience across devices and touch points, the interaction gets more improved, right? So the user experience is better, which ultimately results in employee and customer experience to a vastly enhanced level. Just to sum it up, customer experience, employee experience, user experience, and multi experience are critical in their own right. So, with the technology, with the experience that we have in delivering these solutions, like Ekta mentioned, for years together, right? Avaya One Cloud is focused on the future of customer experience and creates this digital workplace. In other words, we would like to call that as a workplace because it puts your customers, or I would say, puts your BPO customers at the center of your business and builds on top of your existing investments. You don't need to basically invest in additional infrastructure because it's completely a cloud infrastructure, right? And it's not a, I would say, deployment model. It's an experience platform. So instead of a platform focused on just delivering an application which is not connected with other experiences that are coming out of your customer stack of solutions, Avaya One Cloud brings to you a total experience that is not siloed, with the level of integration and the benefit of the full power of the Avaya portfolio as well, right? Avaya One Cloud can connect to where your customers are. For example, if they are an Azure shop, right? So for their CRM, we can basically connect to their cloud enabling capabilities such as click to chat and so on, right? So that's the level of detailing we could basically get to and bring to you a platform rather than just creating another solution that's part of your stack within your customer as well as your own infrastructure, right? Workflow orchestration engine connects to all voice, digital, I would say, artificial intelligence mini apps, services including Google, Nuance, Amazon, the IBM Watsons, right, and all the bots, which you can interact with each other rather than having a siloed application. So that's where it's a full integration with data repositories in in basically creating a continuous improvement of underlining machine learning algorithms. So that's within the Avaya multi-cloud ecosystem itself. So that basically enables you to learn quicker, to deploy your solutions much faster, right? And the designer allows basically both IT and business to compose and modify applications at their will. So today you don't need a lot of IT intervention. Your business users can go ahead and configure information at will, right? So how does this basically translate into, I would say, four pillars? And these four pillars basically deliver the total experience. The first pillar being getting connected, and it's all about connecting customers with employees, be it voice, digital channels, email, social, right? You can bring your own channel for that matter, so such as Facebook, Twitter. Secondly, process orchestration, right? So it's all about building those use cases. So business users can go ahead and take charge and create those use cases, business processes that could leverage existing applications like CRM or employee journeys for that matter, right? So how does the look and feel of my desktop look like? I can customize it depending upon my requirements or a specific business need. Managing resources, it's all about providing employees with right tools, insights across processes, performance management insight, right? So in real time, how I could get as an individual, how I'm performing against my peers, right? So those experiences actually push a lot of, I would say, competition within people to get to the next level. And lastly, knowledge and insight. So we have a entire layer of knowledge which is across this particular platform. It could be a knowledge on your website, it could be a knowledge within a desktop. Information can be plugged in using a lot of what we call as cognitive search engines, which bring in contextual information and push it to the employee desktop or a customer website. So that's where it creates a complete experience for every customer that you would be serving. Every employee today, whether he or she is working from home or back to office, uh, becomes a mentor. In other words, right? In office, we have our supervisors that can come and basically support us on guiding through the process, right? But if a solution comes in and brings to the forte information step by step, so which basically improves the learning curve of an individual, then it's going to change the entire gamut of how your employees basically interact with your customers. That's where we say Avaya multi-cloud. It can connect to leading cloud platforms as well. So I talked about Azure initially. We can connect with Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and so on. Also, what you as customers can also get is an extensive list of market leaders in their own right. We could bring in the likes of Verin, Calabrio, Google Affinity, and many more, right? So it's on our same platform. You could add additional capabilities if you're already having that in your part of your stack, or you would want to add capabilities like speech analytics or artificial intelligence from a specific vendor. It's completely agnostic to such platforms, right? It enables our entire global partner network to plug in their capabilities as well. So today, you start off small, but you will want to slowly move to the maturity curve of your business. We can partner on that particular journey as well. So this is a huge technology differentiator uh, that we have in our entire stack, which enables public as well as private cloud to be deployed in the same amount of time. So, and we also provide you highly advanced integrated private cloud solutions, which can be single tenanted as well, right? So dedicated to a specific customer or maybe multiple customers. So how you would want to set up your infrastructure, we could work towards that particular framework, right? So in other words, you could actually deploy a solution at the speed of a public cloud as well, if you'd want. And to end this particular session, I'll just talk about one of our success stories, which we are really proud of. So here's one customer, Alorica. It's a leading service provider, and they came to us with that thought process back in 2018, right? And they also leveraged to basically change the way they do customer experience, right? They rely on us across 100,000 agents across 14 countries and 130 plus sites. So we enable them to scale agents and their usage to address all their fluctuations during the normal and peak periods of demand, right? So that's the key difference that Avaya brings to the table from the one cloud architecture, right? So we can start small, we can start big, depending upon what your organization goal is today to change that experience for your customers or your employees, or for that matter, use a lot of AI/ML technologies that are prevailing in the market, right? So with that, I'll take a pause and would be keen to understand from our esteemed panelists as to how you all ensure today that your organizations use the best in the breed technology in today's hybrid working area. With that, I'll basically hand it over back to Ekta.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing interesting insights. So, before we proceed to the roundtable discussion, any questions to Kevin from any one of you? We can take that one.
Right, we can, yeah.
So, you can
Anything?
just put
Yeah.
question.
Sorry, Ekta. So I was just talking about this is one example that I took you through, which is a large business process outsourcer, but today we have multiple such customers using a one cloud solution globally, right? The other day, me and Pratap were also debating as to the speed of which our customers are picking up on this particular platform, right? And we would love to hear from you as well today as to how does it work in your ecosystem.
Correct.
Any questions?
So I think we can move to the round table. We might have questions when the
I
speakers.
guess Mr. Sridhar is asking, does Avaya
Mhm.
offer all infras on hosted platform on on-premise solutions?
We do, sir, depending upon how you'd want to set it up. But the way to Avaya One Cloud is a completely cloud environment, right? So we can definitely connect with you separately and discuss this opportunity or this thought process that you have, and we can address it in detail one on one. Is that okay?
Sure. So, Mr. Sridhar, I see you. We have your contact details, and Kevin, we would love to connect you with Sridhar. On one-on-one kind of a
Definitely,
brainstorm meet. Yes.
definitely.
So,
So we
Kevin,
have
I
Karthik.
have a question to you.
Sure.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Ekta, I just have a quick question. Uh, One thing I want to understand is that how customizable is Avaya platform when it comes to fetching out the reports which are really required as per the client requirements. So how easily we can customize that? Because that is one
Right.
challenge we face with many of the platforms, and
Mhm. Sorry, did I
it's really
lose?
critical.
Yeah, what I got from you is how customizable is this platform, right? So
Yes,
luckily
that's right.
the architecture of this particular platform has been built to basically not only serve one business outsourcing organization, but multiple at the same time, right?
Okay.
So customizing a desktop for an employee experience, that's completely in your hands. We provide you the tools, we provide you the APIs. You can go ahead and create your own widgets, right? The capabilities of voice, the capabilities of web chat. For that matter, we could connect separately and talk about how knowledge can be embedded within your desktop as well. So this is all done by business users, by the way. So it's customizable depending upon what is your need, right? So if you want to start small and then start adding applications to the stack, we can do that as well, or you can start in a full bang as well.
Sure. Great. Thanks.
There
So
is
I
one more
was.
question by Mr. Karthik. He's asking that is data being stored in Indian servers?
Absolutely, sir. We have our cloud services out of India as well and globally. So depending upon where your customer resides, right? So if it's a customer in the US, we can basically do that as well, house it out of the US and maintain all the data privacy laws, depending upon which region you're servicing at this point.
Gavin, one query on the sizing. Is there an optimal minimum size in terms of number of transactions or number of people which is workable on this platform?
Well, sir, it's all depends on what's your requirement. So we build the entire architecture, the number of servers that we would basically put in our cloud. That's all our part of the story, right? So we do a discovery workshop, which basically looks at the scale at which through the year your peak requirement would come through. Basis that, we would basically tell you that this is what we have considered, and we could go ahead and service maybe X number of transactions. If you need that additional beyond that limit, you let us know 30 days in advance that your transactions are going to increase by 20%, 30%, and so on. And we could look at adding that infrastructure at the background. So you don't need to
And
take
is
care of the infra. We take care of it in the cloud environment, any which ways, right? So all you need to do is inform us in advance, and we take care of it.
but is there a minimum threshold that you need to be of this size or scale for you to be able to make best out of this platform?
Well, we are servicing customers starting off with 100 to 200 seats as well, and like I talked about Alorica, right? So it's more than 100,000. It started with 100,000 in 2018. It's much more today.
Okay, okay, I get it now. Thanks.
Thank you, Gavin, for answering all the questions. So, now moving to the interesting roundtable topic that I had mentioned earlier, which is from the experts' lens, BPO mega trends that will dominate 2022. So we have already set the outline for our speakers. We have 4 points that would be 5 points majorly that would be discussed. The topics are like we a clear sign of optimism in BPO industry. There is an increased usage of automation techniques. Investing in real-time customer engagement that enables them to gain first-hand product insights. Invest in training, development, and technology to increase the skills of their workers. BPO focusing more on CX, time to invent themselves to stay relevant. And of course, overall, we're going to convert the mega trends. Now, before I move and invite a moderator, I am happy to introduce our panel speakers. We have Mr. Ankur Srivastava, Assistant Vice President, Business Development with Cogent E-Services Private Limited. We have Mr. Yahya Rashid, Global Head of L&D and Quality Digital Workplace with HCL. Mr. Sudhanshu Solanki, Senior AVP, Digital Transformation and Solutions with EXL. Mr. Swapnil Pitale, Corporate Vice President with WNS Global Services. Mr. Pranav Trivedi, Vice President, IT Infrastructure and Managed Services with Excellence. Mr. Rajiv Manglal Gupta, MD and founder with Work Expertise Group. Mr. Murli Pawar, VP Technology with Suntech Web Services Private Limited. Mr. Abhishek Jain, his lead digital transformation leader with Genpact. And now I'm happy to invite our moderator, Mr. Sunil Pratap Rover, Director at Avaya Professional Services, who would be moderating the entire session. So thank you all the panel speakers for taking out your time today. And I know it's going to be a wonderful engagement. Over to you, Mr. Pratap, to take it from here. I think you're on mute, sir.
No, no, Pratap, you are not audible.
No worries. I think by the time Pratap comes back, can't hear you still, Pratap.
Is it audible now?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So, uh, I once again extend a very warm welcome to all of you. A very, very good afternoon and a very good morning as well to some of us, who have risen early and made it a point to join the session. Thank you so much. I think we actually had a very interesting session that Gavin talked about. Gavin talked about digital transformation. What are the digital transformation initiatives that are actually currently happening? And I think one of the important point that I wanted to highlight was that digital transformation initiative, should actually be a holistic approach. And when I say holistic approach, what I mean is that both front end as well as the back end activities have to be successfully integrated. And we are not just talking about basic functions, but we were talking about all the functions would need to be optimized for the digital platform. And if I was to talk about the buzzwords from the digital transformation, I think some of the buzzwords that we have been talking consistently or we are hearing consistently we about cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and virtualization. I mean, and there are quite a few other jargons that are floating around. But from the BPO perspective, I think the entire BPO industry has gone through a lot of disruption. Call it godsend, or probably call it you know this entire COVID era actually has fast forwarded a lot of this digital transformation that is actually happening. So, and like Ekta mentioned that there is a lot of optimism in the BPO industry. And so one of the first thing that I wanted to understand from our esteemed panel here is that what are automated techniques that for which you are seeing an increased usage. And I think I'll start with Mr. Murli with you, and if you can share your thoughts about what are the new automated techniques which you are seeing that are being used more and more of. I think Mr. Murli, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, perfect, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Grover, for routing this question to me. Yes, I would be glad to answer this and put my point forward on this. So, as you rightly mentioned that the automation is actually, people are saying that it is disrupting the BPO, the entire BPO sector. At the same time, I also like to say that the word optimism is very, very important, that we all should be optimistic that it is not uh, disrupting, but yes, there is an opportunity also if you are keeping your organization abreast with the latest technologies. Technology is changing rapidly and every day, right? And while technology is changing every day, it is also transforming the way we do business, be it an industry or the service sector. And thus the BPO is BPO is not an exception, of course. Rather, all the industries rely on BPO to keep the business process running smoothly. Thus, the technology transformation is quite high in a BPO sector. In order to ensure that you are matching the expectations and delivery on time, you need to keep your processes up to date with the current technology trends. That is very, very important to catch the pace, right? Earlier, BPO was focused, or it is known as more to reduce the cost and increase the profit margin by outsourcing and all. But nowadays, with the help of modern technologies, they are adding value to the processes. And thus, I would like to say that technology is not just acting like an enabler for this sector, but it has actually become a differentiator, right? The word, as I said, that the optimism and being optimistic is very, very important. Generally, the processes automation is seen as a job taker, as people say that yes, this is a disruptor. This is going to disturb the entire BPO industry. And similarly, when we talk automation, when we talk technology to do the repetitive job, we also say that yes, it is a job taker. But it is actually not like that. The BPO who are adapting technology to be more cost effective and accurate and quicker in delivery, they have the opportunity. They are having an edge over their mm, competitors. Like the I would like to take an example here, about the SMS services. We have been using SMS services in the past. I will say after, sorry, before 10 years or 15 years ago. We are also using message services now, but the way we use it has changed. Similarly, for the for the BPO sector, the requirement will be there, the opportunities will be there, but it will change, it will transform. So if you will transform the technology and think that you are the the way you are doing, the way you are serving your client, you will remain in business and you will have the opportunity to crack the market, right? And as you asked that, what are the tasks that is being automated, that is being repetitive, and people are using technology to automate that. That's the one or two example I would like to take here is, earlier we used to process invoice as a text BPO. People used to process invoice, and that was a complete manual task where uh, resource hu- human resource go through the invoices, find the data point that need to be captured, and then put it a structured format, and that a structured format further used to the system to derive the information and analyze. But that task has been automated in 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 in, in today's scenario with the help of AI and ML. So there is an bot that used to info from the document and put it at the right place and put it in a structured format. Right? In my opinion, India is still in the discovery phase of implementing RPA. You know, e- industries are evaluating different technology that can make their processes uh, you know efficient and make their processes automate. So this is how the technology is helping BPO sector, and there are many more examples that can come, but I'll only take couple of them, as we have other people also to speak on it. So this is what my take on this. Hope I have answered your question.
Right. Thank you so much for your inputs, Mr. Murli. Abhishek, Mr. Abhishek Jain, if I was to put in the same question to you, what would be your
Yeah. No, thanks for inviting. First of all, Pratap, can you hear me? Am I audible?
yeah, perfect, sir. Perfectly.
Absolutely. So, no, this is a very interesting question, and I was actually thinking about it, that how to actually address this issue, and this is a very pertinent issue. Most of the solution providers in today's BPO industries are actually struggling with this particular problem. So let me answer it in two parts. Number one is, we do understand there are a lot of technologies, and some of these are like the low hanging fruits of AI and ML, right? We all understand that you can implement a lot of solutions using Python coding. You can do a lot of forecasting. You can do a lot of NLP related stuff here. But then there are some very high end technologies also, which are extremely critical in certain industries. For example, in manufacturing specifically, if you ask me, one technology which has the brightest future is basically neural networks. It is astonishing how it can be applied into multiple areas. Say for example, image classification, right, using neural networks. So the question here is that how much to invest in these technologies to address to specific client problems. Okay, and if you ask me, I would say that it's a four-step process. Number one, you need to understand what are the areas which should be automated versus which should not be automated in the first place, right? Because if the solution is very simple, it can be done using some, the minor automation techniques. We should first apply that. Step number two is to do a very detailed cost benefit analysis, right? Applying technologies for the sake of it might not be a solution many times, right? Because there are multiple solutions available, it is quite possible that we end up using whichever comes to our mind first, right? And that is one fault that many of the solution providers commit in today's scenario. Step number three is to understand that, what are the technologies which can address to the client problem versus those technologies which are actually available to us. We might not be expert in certain technologies, but client is looking for that solution. So can we outsource that? Can we reach out to certain boutique firms who are experts in that area? That's step number three. And first, and the fourth and foremost most important step is to understand the transformation from client's perspective. My experience says that, unless you understand what your client is looking for when he says transformation, right, you will not be able to provide the complete solution. Many times we end up providing the solution depending on the availability that we have and depending upon our own expertise, right? So say for example, I give you one example. We have a manufacturing client who was looking for transforming the complete process end to end, right? Now, there are two things here. One, we can just do a complete VSM mapping for the client and understand the steps where we can automate step, or the other solution is understand the complete process and see if we can do some kind of process reimagination and then do the transformation. And you'll be surprised that we actually, our final solution was a mix of both these two things, right? And we actually ended up doing a fantastic job for the client by saving a humongous cost, but not automating certain steps, which in the first place we were planning to automate, right? So my answer to your question, Pratap, is that, first of all, we need to understand how transformation should be defined. Secondly, identify the best possible available technologies that fits the bill in specific scenarios. It could be very simple solutions like Python coding to do some forecasting, or it could be some high-end technologies like image classification. And there are specific experts available in the market who should be reached out to for solving these specific problems. And I think this is something that will define the market scenario, especially in BPO industry in 2022 and beyond. And there are certain firms which are doing fantastic job when it comes to identification of these technologies and doing a perfect cost benefit analysis, with a certain companies which are falling into the trap of just providing the solution basis the optics of that particular solution. So that would be my solution. If you have any questions or
Right.
points here.
Right. Thanks, Abhishek. I think one word that I really liked in whatever you spoke was about, process reimagination and transformation. I think that's a excellent way of looking at it. Mr. Ankush Srivastav, if you can add your thoughts.
Yeah. Hi. Well, I totally agree with what Abhishek has just mentioned related to process optimization or process reengineering. So people just get confused or mix up what is process optimization and what is process reengineering actually. As he also mentioned that we should go ahead and first understand what the client requirements are, and then we should ascertain that what we really have to do, be it a process optimization which is required for the client or a process re-engineering which is required for the client. Tools, no doubt, there are a number of tools which are available, which are low at cost, high at cost, depending on the features they offer and the brands. They are available, but how you can use them to optimize the things for the clients is really important. No doubt, as Mr. Murli also mentioned, that being in BPO or BPOs were looked at a very different prospect earlier, and now any organization which is looking at to outsource any of their processes to a BPO, they always look for what value proposition you are offering to that particular client, be it e-commerce, travel, TV commerce, or to any other thing. So what we really have to understand is how you are ensuring that what kind of automation or an automation proposition you can give to the clients, so as to ensure that the client is getting that value optimization feel, that okay, this is what value or the cost optimization I can do at the client end. Uh, Earlier it was just like a email or a chat or a voice process where you are charging FTs or per call basis, but now it's not just that. If you are able to optimize or give automation to the client, reduce the headcount for them, but you can go ahead and charge them for other optimizations, because that actually improves their customer experience, that improves their CSAT, that improves their NPS, because customers are getting that ease of information or ease of using that technology, and that is how they are getting their repeat customers. So if you are able to offer those automation things or value proposition to the clients, they'll definitely go ahead and opt for a particular BPO. BPOs are available anywhere now, so there are small BPOs, bigger BPOs, everything is available, be it BPO or any other thing. Any value proposition is available, but how you are making it uh, purposeful for the client is what that matters. What generally in BPOs we do, we just go ahead and do things, be it optimization or be it some process enhancements, client wise. But what if we make a complete end-to-end process offering to what a BPO can offer or an organization can offer to any of the client? That can be a general thing, which will give the first hand comfort or confidence to the clients that okay, this is what they can offer and do. Then you can enter it, understand what the client requirement is, what the process is, what the business is all about, and then you offer the solution as per that. The other thing which is really important these days for BPOs is to do some consulting as well. It's not that you go, you pitch, and you offer a price and just get the business up. No, it will not happen this way now. You really need to understand. You need to understand the business, and then you need to do some consulting for the client. That okay, this is what 10 things you are doing good. These are what 20 things which you can do better. Here on these 20 things, you can offer these things, be it automation, be it any service, manual or automated. And on the things which you are doing better, we can offer another two things which can enhance or improve your service or experiences. So that is how BPOs are growing these days, and that is how organizations are moving out, because they really don't want to invest. Organizations like startups are coming in. Many startups are there in the market now. many organizations are coming up, they don't want to invest their time and more money into managing these customer experience teams or sales teams. They feel that BPOs are doing it for n number of clients and they are the best people who can do it for them. But at the same time, the BPOs or people like us has to ensure that what value proposition we are offering or what automations we are offering to them, so that they feel confident and they stay with us for a longer time. And that is how you get referrals as well. Being in business development, I feel the same, because when I go and pitch any of the client, I always try and pitch the technology. I don't start with the people or what things are going on as of now. I always prefer to offer technology to them, and then basis that technology, what you can get from them. So that is how it should be. So I hope I have answered the question.
Right. Yes, you have. I think you have put added, a second dimension to the answer. Thank you so much. And if I was actually to look at, what are the overall mega trends, that are there in the BPO today, uh, I think, Swapnil, if you can put some light on that, and how, what are the overall mega trends that you're seeing in the BPO today?
No, absolutely. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. Greetings to everybody who's joined in. I think let me first, put some number to that optimism that, Gavin and Ekta talked about, right? I mean, if you look at some of the leading market researchers and analysts, they have forecasted that the BPO industry will grow north of 60 billion by 2025. So I think it's not optimism; it's actually just a lot of opportunity and a lot of hope, right, in the BPO industry. The biggest trend that I see, and we talked about it in bits and pieces, right? Digital transformation is a far broader umbrella when you start talking to your customers. Automation is one. You can have your CX. You can have multiple ways of really impacting your customers business model or business delivery. I mean, I agree to what some of the panelists said. I, however, also disagree to the fact that you can't sell technology to your customers. See, you are always, as BPO players, the first and the foremost objective is to solve a business problem. Your technology always becomes the enabler, right? So no matter what you bring, be it a Google, dialog flow or a different chat bot or anything like that, but as long as I am creating a virtual agent that is enabling my customer to a self-service, I think then I've solved the problem, right? So my, you know, perspective on this is that technology will be the enabler, right? The biggest trend I see personally is the conversation changing from it being. So if you look at the typical BPO engagements, right? You outsource a piece and then there is a retained organization, right? And that's how typically the BPO organizations engage with their customers. Now the whole thing has shifted where a lot of the customers who have gone and started their journey on digital transformation want to have more and more value driven conversations. It's never a question of how many seats can you run for me. It is now more a question of how can you change or transform my business process, right? And for doing that, what kind of things then can you bring to the table? It could be machine learning, it could be computer vision, it could be anything, right? A lot of emphasis right now is on
Mr. Swapnil, you still there? I think,
I think you lost him.
yeah. I think we'll
Hmm.
probably just give him a few seconds if he's joining back.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
think
Yes.
just Jack, I think we just wait a
We'll
few
just
seconds. Yeah, sure. I think we'll probably I think move on to the next panelist. So I think one of the key things that everyone is talking about is that how the computer vision or how the machine learning are changing things. I think one of the important things that we are actually also realizing is that there's a lot of investment that is actually also happening on the real-time customer engagement. So one of the things that Mr. Pranav, I would actually want to know your thoughts on is that, how investing in real-time customer engagement is enabling, to gain first-hand product insights from that. Uh, you know, uh, Mr. Pranav, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you are audible, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Thanks, first of all, and very good evening to each one of you. If you talk about real-time customer engagement, it is as similar to a real-time transaction. First of all, it's like something which has to be, which has an expectancy of getting it fixed then and there. When you talk about, so it's a very critical area. And if I see uh, last 2 3 years, the BPO industry has been evolving in that. It's not completely evolved, but yeah, me coming from an insurance organized based organization, we see it taking, especially in some of the processes, very much, the investment is very much, because uh, there are certain capabilities on which we need to invest uh, to ensure real time engagement works seamlessly, and we get a satisfaction when the transaction gets over. So the basic capabilities where we need to focus are the responses. This again, in other words, I can say speed, where during the engagement, how quickly we are responding, and on this there is a lot of, we hear digital transformation, and automation is one of the key drivers of digital transformation. So what kind of workflows, which can be automated to provide quick responses, and with, and in parallel to the responses, I would also emphasize on the context of the overall engagement. That also matters. How it is being, you know, uh, channelized, or how it is being placed, so that everything, every engage in the in that engagement, whatever steps are being taken is in sequence. So it's a very critical area, and we need to have proper, definition of the workflows. And if we are going towards automating those workflows, for example, I take that someone who's asking me for a claims information, and he giving me a claims, uh, any particular key number, and if I want to check how we can, whether the person is authenticated, and when we send out an OTP, I'm just taking an example, which is going, how quickly it is going, and how quickly they are getting responded, and then how quickly we are going to the next process. So speed is very important. The second thing is, during the engagement, if we have the online and offline data available, that sets the tone. So you start getting familiarized with on the same conversation, that related to the, related to that engagement, how we can automate the online data or offline. And if not, if there is manual, then it's a more simple thing. But again, the statistics needs to be there. The investment on how you can automate those today, that is very important. And the third investment is again, how we can optimize the various processes involved, during, when we talk about a certain process, especially not the process, but mainly the workflows. How can we invest in optimizing those workflows by adding AI, ML, bots, you know so investments should be done, keeping in mind these three critical areas, which I feel. Apart from that, definitely, uh, the if the bots are sitting, how they are managing it, uh, we need to ensure that there is no bottlenecks or disruptions happening where the customer feels stuck, and that will definitely uh, become a very critical factor of dissatisfaction. So investments on speed or responses, it has to be data driven from the automation standpoint, and the workflow optimization is required. I hope that
Right.
answers.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Pranav. That was quite insightful. I think some of the investment that you did talk about, I think one of the other investments, that everybody needs is, enabling, increasing the skills, adding skills to your employees, enabling your employees. So, it requires investment in training, in their development. So I think my question to you, Mr. Rashid, is how is it that you are looking at it, from your perspective, that uh, what is the kind of investment in training and development uh, in order to enable your employees that you're looking at?
Sure, sure. Thanks, Prasad, and thanks for having me session. So yeah, I think there are two prominently. I look at it from a two strategic view pillars, right? One is in terms of having a renewed focus on business impact, and thus how you align the learning strategies to that business imperatives. It's not just from a return on investment perspective. And two, in terms of investing in terms of learning ability and learning agility, enhancements, so that it's no more learning is push model rather it's pulled. Right. I think these are the two changes that have really emitted for the last kind of 2 years. If you really ask me how what really has changed and what kind of investments that are required and so on, I think one is in the last 2 years, the way we have the share of wallet of the BPO industry has kind of ramped by about almost 20-25% year over year. Um, Moving slow may affect a lot of our business interests, so we have to go fast. But as also on the flip side, if we go too fast, it also confuses a lot of people. So we have to balance both. Um, and when you look at the investment, there's a lot of these buzzwords, right? Ever since the RPA and a lot of automation focuses on in terms of bringing in the right kind of tools, technologies, um, stack to ensure that these challenges are tackled via the technological view. But whereas the investment of about, if you look at, it's roughly around 3%, right, in terms of the learning budgets and so on. So we have a mismatch there as well. And so the last 2 years at least, there's a lot of acceleration in terms of those kind of investments, with knowledge getting fast becoming obsolete, and with that attention span of learners decreasing. So these investments are required. Um, with all these specific challenges, upskilling and cross skilling, reskilling is extremely important because the customer environments are going through a lot of sea change. As well as ensuring that the right time and effort is spent on enhancing the skill set of those individuals is key. So in that, some of the investments that I see as an emerging trend is in terms of the uh, various cognitive kind of ability for people to just help them bounce off with multiple options in terms of doing their repetitive tasks, as well as ensuring that there are a lot of simulations that are available along with e-learning, because the classroom training is almost dead, right? With the kind of a globalized work from home currently environment, there's a lot of e-learning and VILT mode of learnings is what happens. So getting all of those thoughts assimilated, taking the right attention span of the participants, and also ensuring that the outcome of this entire investment and the time and effort is materialized. So there's a lot of investment in terms of these kind of simulation tools, the game theories, and so on, to ensure that we also catch the imagination of the learners, in terms of upskilling themselves, but at the same time having the right times, maybe a short burst of about micro learning sessions of about 4 hours, 3 hours, so that they are able to upskill in that shorter period of time. I think there's a lot of investment going in these areas currently within the BPO space. Um, there's not much on the larger five 5 day a week and 40 hours kind of a training kind of thing is fast getting redundant. And investment in these kind of tools and Captivate, and there were various tools that are available that help the learners understand, as well as ensuring those add as job aids for them in terms of doing their work, right? And then the second other area that the investments are going on is today, with the great resignation in play, there are a lot of people who carry the knowledge that they've acquired, right, with the tacit knowledge. So now knowledge capture is getting automated with help of a bit of AI and machine learning. Those knowledge is also getting updated and ensured that that's available in form of search techniques and so on, and that helps in terms of getting the overall investments going. I think these are the areas and trends where I see, at least for the next 2 to 3 years, we'll see some bit of heavy lifting happening.
Sure. Thank you so much. I think Karthik has written a comment. A good LMS is in an org is like the key to the door. Very well said, Mr. Karthik. Uh, Abhishek, if I was to ask you the same question, what is it that you see in terms of investment in training and development for your employees? I would like to hear your thoughts as well on this,
Yeah,
Abhishek.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I was listening to Mr. Rashid, and one very important thing that he said is in terms of skilling and reskilling. I think that's going to be the key defining parameter for future, or you may call it learn, unlearn, and relearn, right? Uh, and instead of investing in one specific skill to develop the expertise in one specific skill, I think the future is about investing in developing the expertise to learn. So the resources or the people who have this expertise to learn new skills are going to be the winners all the way, because you and I, we have been observing that every year we have a new technique coming in, right? So those people who were experts in one technology last year are redundant already. So in this kind of scenario, the people who have this ability to keep on learning, I think these are the people. And the trainings around that relearning is what is going to be defining factor in future. So another important thing that I was listening is that when this is the case, when you simply cannot invest in one specific technologies because you know that it may or may not be required next year, you end up investing in developing e-courses. That is exactly what Mr. Rashid was saying, and I totally agree with that because I'm observing that day in day out in our organization also, right? Because for one, you cannot expect people to spend 1 or 2 weeks on a technology which may not be required next year. Secondly, you also don't want to invest, right? You rather prepare modules of those trainings and make them available to all your resources in the organization, depending on the requirement of the client, depending on the requirement of the specific project they are working on. They can pick and choose that training, right? So that whole face-to-face training, obviously it is already gone because of COVID, but it is also because of the fact that technology is changing so fast. So there are certain things which are going to be the core, which you cannot negotiate, right? So these are non-negotiable skills. So trainings for those non-negotiable skills will always be there. For example, to develop your logical reasoning, for example, to develop your ability to grasp new technology, right? So those non-negotiable skills will always be there, but the embellishment around it, which is around specific new techniques that are coming in every single year, I think that is the area which is not going to be the core anymore, right? I can give you an example. When we were hiring people 4 years back, we actually were on a lookout for people who are expert coders because they are the ones who can actually do the job for you. So if I have a team which is doing forecasting of a specific engine part, how it is going to fail, say 4 years down the line, I need those people who can do this forecasting for me using coding, right? Today I may not require that, right? Because there are technologies which just provide me that forecasting as an output of that solution, right? So I would rather invest in those people who are experts on that solution and move on to the next piece, which is how they can implement this solution in multiple environments and multiple scenarios. So I think these are the important points regarding training, in specifically in the BPO environment, because we are the ones who are going to be impacted by this technology more than any other industry, if I may say so.
Right. Thanks, Abhishek. Mr. Pranav, your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Did we?
So,
Yeah.
uh, can, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, sir.
Okay. So, see, I completely agree to what others are saying. The the time where we are in today, training, skill mapping, it has been, and it will remain the key, because resources working, they are the foremost drivers for business. But uh, I also feel that it's high time that we start setting up a skill as well as training roadmap, which should be aligned with the technical and the business roadmap, because that will definitely give you a direction that where we are heading, let's say a 3 year roadmap, and which will give you an idea that how technology will be you know mm, transforming, transitioning, how the business will be behaving, or what new things will be coming up. And based on that, you should also create a learning and a training roadmap. That's very much important. I also feel that most of the companies are doing it. We do this, but uh, honestly, at the ground level, we do create a roadmap. But how many of us follow uh, pre-COVID era is something which is a question, and that is, again, I'm coming from experience. I know many people may disagree to it, but that's again what I have seen. But yeah, it's time now where the L&D, learning and development team, should come up not only with a short-term plan, but with also with a long-term plan, that uh, what are the requirements, how your roadmap needs to be structured, and it has to also be segmented into soft skills, specified skills, technical skills, business skills, whatever is required. But I do understand that there are mandatory trainings which every organization does, but that are more towards compliance and regulations and code of conduct. But if you see, we are more aligned to business and the existing workflows or the business processes which are running. However, we see a business roadmap for all the in every organization. We see a IT or a technical roadmap also, but we rarely see a roadmap for 1 to 3 years for learning or upskilling or cross skilling, whatever. uh, that's again my view on this.
Right. Thanks so much, Pranav. Um, I was just going through the comment. Okay, that's uh, Mrs. Sudhanshu, if you can add your insights on the training and development.
Sure. I think people talked about majorly on the transformation bit, and entire industry has been moving towards transforming the overall customer journey. I think to maintain the equilibrium, it's simultaneously important that we always reinforce the usage of all the new tools and technology that is being developed and being deployed. And currently, one of the major challenges that this BP industry is being going through is managing the attrition. And you always find that top drivers, for the attrition is coming out to be the growth for the employees. Now, one side, the world is transforming. A lot of new technology is being introduced. Clients are demanding how they can deploy and leverage new technology and drive efficiencies in the process. Internally, we see that retaining a talent itself is a big challenge. Now, the other thing where we also cater, to is meeting the demand. So I'm sure we all are working in an environment where the demand is a lot higher of people and skills in terms of technology, new latest technologies. However, finding a skill set in the market, it's just not something which is an easy task for any recruiter. So therefore, we always look forward that how we can upskill the existing talent, ensure whatever new technologies and the new systems that are being created, being deployed, to ensure we get the maximum output. I mean, just share one of the examples. When I was in my 11th standard, we were introduced to some complex calculations and being told to use the scientific calculator. While we were allowed to use a scientific calculator, but to my surprise, in my entire class, nobody knew how to use a scientific calculator. So it was like invention was done by somebody. The execution was done by allowing us to use the scientific calculator. However, the training was missing in terms of how to use a scientific calculator. Therefore, none of us could, solve the complex problems. And hence, we took a lot more time in coming up and passing on the benefits that was expected back then. Similarly, this industry, it's evolving at a high pace. New technologies are coming up. Imperative, it's always to look at how we retain the talent by upskilling them so that the usage of those tools and technologies is there, and it does not die, its own death. One aspect, we talked about customer transformation. We also look at how we are making the life of our agents or the frontline managers easy on a day-to-day basis. So there are tools that are created not only to ease the customer journey, but also to simplify the job of team leaders or the managers who are managing the team on a real time. Some tools that we've created is to create the predictability modeling, where client will see that, if let's say today is the 10th of the month, we are sitting at X AHT and X% of quality score. What would be the likelihood of the HT, that I would be closing my month at? And what is the run rate that the team has to maintain on a daily basis in order to meet the target or the goal which is being agreed? So, in middle of the month, if you see any of your metrics are not meeting the target, the team will get to see what is the run rate that they're trying to maintain, so that by end of the week or by end of the month they are able to meet the goal. These tools really helping the managers in spending less time in identifying where the issue is, rather they spend more time in solving how to fix it. That is a form of another transformation, that we are enabling the system to ensure people are being trained, are utilizing the systems which are being developed, and simultaneously upskilling them and retaining that talent, rather than investing heavy amount in hiring from the market.
Right. Thank you. Thanks, Sudhanshu. I think the scientific calculator was a great example. We have all struggled with it, especially those who have taken, uh, science when we actually moved from 10th to 11th. I think that's a great example because for so many weeks, actually, we were all struggling with it that nobody actually really knew how to use it. And it's a great, and I can really put it in context, with fast adoption of technology, and I can really put that in context.
Yeah.
Ankur, if we can hear from you as well. Ankur?
Yeah. So I totally agree with Sudhanshu on this because there is a lot of training and upskilling which is required when it comes to employees, especially when it comes to the support stuff in BPOs. Because when you expand your teams, you get new clients on board. You really need people who understand the current organization structure, the way of working, technology which is being offered and used for the clients. Uh, be it management skills, people handling skills, or be it something which is related to any software, any tool where, any learning where they can improve their efficiencies within themselves, helps them to actually grow. Plus, when you give them a lot of visibility, that respect, and along with the responsibility which we give to the support staff, we give them authority as well. So they feel confident that okay, whatever they are doing it with full confidence, and they perform. When it comes to giving them learning, that actually helps them to increase their efficiencies when it comes to their work and the deliveries as well, which in turns helps your clients to get that confidence and delivering those organizational goals, so that your revenues when it comes to BPO is again, they need the revenues from the client. So that is how we gain revenues, we gain confidence, and the client either expands the business with us or gives new opportunities to us, or they actually references in the market, and that is how you grow. So I really believe, I strongly believe when it comes to learning and development for the employees, it has to be there. in each of the organization, be it a BPO or any other organization, because that actually helps in improving the efficiencies within the organization and the structure.
Right. Thanks, Uncle. And I think one last question that I actually have, and Mr. Rajiv Gupta, if you can actually take this up, what should, how should the BPOs reinvent themselves to stay relevant? Mr. Rajiv? Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. Am I audible?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. Thanks first for inviting me and specifically allowing me to speak on this topic. It's a topic of interest for a lot of us, how to be remaining relevant. Now, what I'll do is I'll try and sort of pick up one of the sides of BPO, which is really becoming more and more relevant, which is social media. You know, so today, the BPO, when you say reimagining BPO or redefining BPO, yes, we are at a point of inflection where we really need to see how we want to change and what is it that we're looking at. In the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, the customers' expectations have changed. The tools they have got exposed to have changed. The client technologies largely have remained at the same level because of the uncertainties. They've tried to make some changes, but they have not much investments which have really gone there, but they are now considering. So if you look at the education of the customer, yes, they are much ahead of what they were 2 years back. How to use the technology, how to use the social media space, how to reach out to people. It's not no more just voice. Earlier, if you take Twitter for an example, today or a Facebook were a more passive and more softer side of raising an issue. But today, people raise issues and they can expect a response within an hour or maybe few hours. Otherwise, they escalate. They are linked to authorities where they can connect immediately to maybe a TRAI or maybe to an RBI or maybe somebody, whatever, and even the handles of the senior management. The escalation process also changes very fast. How are we recognizing this change in the technology which we are offering? One. So that's what we really need to understand. So are we taking a strategic view of managing the customer expectation, which we may call it CX from a short, wider perspective? What impacts CX is really we need to now get into. Are your clients allowing you to get into their CX strategy? Because today a platform has to be a connected. The BPO earlier was disconnected platform. You would have a client handing you a transaction, you handle it in your platform, or maybe extended platform or theirs, integrate two or three platforms and try and service the client's transaction. But today, there is now one example was SMS. Now you have SMS. The SMS have become an interactive SMS. SMS is used to send out web links, which you collect information, it goes into some other platform. SMS needs to be the data of the client need to be dug up and embedded into SMS links and sent out. So all those elements have now more integration with the client's core network. Are they allowing that to happen? So first, are you part of the strategy of the client? If not, get in there. Second, if you are part of the client strategy, are they giving you access of these platforms which really need to be accessed for you to be able to respond on a real time basis? Today, expectations are going to change to 15-minute response. I must get an acknowledgement for my issue within next 15 minutes. The patient levels are lesser. The pandemic has actually reduced our own individual patients as well. We are more demanding, or we are more on the fly. We want to do things faster, and we want to get on with the things faster. So that's one aspect we need to look at it. You know, today, if you look at the larger user, about if the of the BPO or the customer transaction, about 25 to 45 age group, all of them are on Facebook and Twitter. Almost 40% of this group is expecting you to deliver services within 6 hours. Rest maybe within 24 hours. So are we gearing up to delivering those services? So what technology investment which we are taking as we are getting into a faster response time? Are you upskilling is another part which is there. So upskilling of people, not just in handling transaction. Today there is an expectation of marketing element as well. So are your people being trained into the marketing skills as well as the servicing skills? This diverse portfolios were there earlier, but now they are merging. So the quality of people which you are going to go and get in, or upskilling which will be required, will have to be merged in these both these skills. The technology stack today, if I were to, well, we have clients, we use SMS, they use SMS, they use WhatsApp, they use voice, they use interactive voice, they use speech to text, and AI, ML related other technologies, different vendors. How are they going to get that insight across the vendors into one single view? Are we talking of providing that level of depth to our clients? If not, we must be prepared to start doing that. And for that, what has to be done? So let's say, for example, an Avaya platform, can that be integrated and provide an entire view of the entire transaction end to end, which is happening and seamless across platforms? Yes, enabling your advisors to be able to get the view of what has happened in the previous transaction and which platform the client has used. So the advisor is intelligent enough to be able to say, okay, fine, this guy is more on the social media type. I must be handling him differently or her differently. This guy is actually most interaction in voice based, so I must be able to handle that person. So that will require your technology and the backend advisor enablement with that information and insight as well. In the domestic side, when you're talking of huge growth in the domestic side, which is happening, are your clients ready to pay for the investment which will require to deliver this service? Or are you proactively investing in your platform for enabling the client, okay, fine, let's go and do a transformation exercise and let's do a different commercial model where we will have gain share. So is your client mature for investments and return on investments, which could be short term or long term? This is an extremely important question when you go and want to do any transformation exercises. Your investments, not just in your people, your investments, not just in your technology, your investments will also be made to connecting to client technologies. So that diversity must be existing in your technology stack for you to be able to connect to different kind of platforms and different kind of technologies. So I think if I were to really try and summarize, one, we must have a strategy, a client strategy, for them to understand how the CX is going to be impacted. Basis that strategy, we must be able to set some goals for them and for us that this is what yearly we want to achieve. Those goals have to be measurable, maybe in terms of response time, maybe in terms of transaction reduction, maybe in terms of uh, 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 getting to process reengineering or reimagination, so reduce the cut down the transaction completely. Those are the elements which we need to get into it. Then get into what tech stack is going to deliver those elements. Do we have the capability? Now, having tech stack is fine, but people ability to be able to imagine and conceive the solution which you are talking of is also a big challenge, not just at your end, even at the client's end, because the people you deal with are also at the middle management level who start this whole projects. What are their skill sets? How are you enabling them? So you have to look at that layer as well. You may have solution, you have upskilled your people, but when you go to the client, there is understanding gap. And so how are you going to fill that gap? So there is an investment you need to make towards that, also a risk you need to cover from that perspective as well. There was one point which I think Abhishek raised was about the skills and the depth of skill. And I think extremely relevant point. Your skills are changing. Your skill requirements are changing. Do you change people or do you upskill your people? In my journey, what I have seen, while We tend to push things faster than we want to upskill ourselves by changing the people. But journey of transformation, of journey of change at the client end continues to be at the pace where you have time to upskill your people to be able to take the solution forward rather than changing the people and bringing new skills into the system. So give it a thought. These are some pointers which I would say we must be conscious about, keeping the people, training them up, and building around there. You may get few infusion of external resources to infuse into your capability, but understanding of the BPO, understanding of the process, understanding of the knowledge of the client and the transaction is extremely important for any transformation to happen.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rajiv. I think that was a very, very detailed reply. We actually have last 5 minutes, so Mr. Sudhanshu, if we can actually have your uh, inputs on, how our BPOs can reinvent themselves.
Well, I think BPOs have been working very actively, and aggressively, and been on reinventing, looking at the competition that exists in the market. Nowadays, we don't win a deal basis by offering any deal at a cheaper price. It's more on what is the value delivery that we are going to offer to the clients. That decides where the client is going to give their businesses, and that is the key, which is moving towards taking these particular industry to the next level. That transformation and all those new tools and technologies is playing a role, and how better we help our clients to streamline the customer journey, you know stitch the broken processes, and obviously bring the skilled labor, on a real time basis rather than spending time in hiring and training. So yes, this industry has been evolving, and then going through the challenges which exist, and we all are part of it. But yes, the one key that is always at the heart of the business is not just the customers, but also keeping their talent and enhancing the existing team to ensure we have the adaptability in the team. So coming back to the old examples, no matter you buy so many new tools and technology, if the deployment is not there or execution of those tools are missing, we will not be able to deliver the value. So yes, it's good to create new systems, but simultaneously it's all the more important that the adaptability and the usability, stays above 98% to be able to get the maximum value out of it.
Right. Thank you. I think thank you everyone for making it. I think we are at the top of the hour, so I once again thank everybody for your inputs, and it's been a very, very interactive session. There are a lot of ideas that came in. Uh, Really great, great work, everyone. I really enjoyed having this discussion. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out your time, all the thought leaders and the audiences. Raju sir, special thanks to you. I understand it's early morning and you had logged in. And we will be sharing the entire video session with you all. And also would like to reconnect for one-on-one sessions with Avaya for the solutions. Yes. So have a lovely weekend, everyone. And please take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Everyone.
Nice meeting you. Yeah.
We all look forward to meeting you all. Take care.